This is Moon. I don't think I've ever watched a video of his before. How corn became the American dream. I'm guessing this is more about the OF industry and how it's exploded in America, especially for, well, I'll just say it, for young women. For young women, because that's the target audience. I mean, there are adults who are my age and older trying to get into that OF crowd that, well, they're just too old. I am too old to start an OF. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I'd reckon so much money. I'd reckon so much money, it'd basically be a money glitch. It'd be an excuse to print money.
Today, there's no better way to become rich, famous, and celebrated in modern culture than by making porn videos. Look at the porn stars from days gone by. They mostly ended up dead, addicted to drugs, or washed up on the back streets in downtown LA somewhere. Now look at Mia Khalifa. She's a multi-millionaire who hosted shows with NBA legends, sat front row at Paris and Milan fashion weeks, modeled for Vivienne Westwood and Moschino.
Mia Khalifa. That name sounds familiar, but I don't think I've ever seen it before. Why does it sound familiar? Is she married to somebody?
Runs her own jewelry business and has been interviewed by basically every major outlet on earth. She was a paralegal from a Lebanese family, and she didn't churn out film for years. She just claimed she made 11 of them over a few months. And within a few weeks of her debut, she was the #1 performer on the biggest adult site in the world, where she received death threats, was shunned from her religion, and her family stopped speaking to her.
ISIS was after you?
Well, I don't think she cares. I don't think she cares. She's made money. She raked in the money. I don't think she cares.
I'm not allowed back in Lebanon. I was banned from the Middle East. Which is crazy, because they're the ones who watch my videos the most.
Then she walked away from the industry forever after making just $12,000, or at least that's what she claimed.
You were paid a grand total of $12,000 US, and yet you made millions and millions of dollars for both Bang Bros, the company that you worked with, and Pornhub, the aggregating site. How could that be?
That's just how it is.
But between then and now, Mia Khalifa, like so many others, has used porn to become, in every sense of the word, famous. Not infamous, but legitimately famous, rubbing shoulders with A-listers and getting invited to their cocktail parties. Something huge happened in the world of adult content to create a pipeline to status and generational wealth. For Sarah Jo Chamoun, which is Mia's real name, she grew up right alongside the internet, and more specifically at a turning point for the sex industry.
I mean, I'm a kid who grew up playing World of Warcraft and using dial-up internet and fixing the computer at home when it broke. Like, that was my job because I was of that generation. So I think that I've always had a knack for what I like to consume online, which in turn influenced how I like to be online.
Okay. So she obviously liked to consume adult content. So if you like to consume it, then you like to do it. That's literally what she's saying. She likes to post it. She consumed a lot of it, and then she decided to add to the pipeline because she enjoyed it so much. It's crazy.
Content back then was an analog affair, driven by VHS tapes, magazines, and adult video stores. The money was limited and controlled by the gatekeepers. Performers like Mia got paid per scene, with no way to self-publish or go independent. And like so many others, she was pulled off the street in Miami by a random man who asked if she thought about modeling, suggesting she come down to a studio and take a look around. The studio was Bang Bros, one of the leading studios at the time.
It wasn't just, hey, do you want to come do porn? It was more so, oh, you're beautiful. Like, would you like to do some modeling? Oh, you have a great body. Like, I think you'd be great in nude modeling. Things like that. And after I came and toured the studio, it was very respectable. It was a gorgeous location. It was in Miami, in Doral, Florida. It was clean. Everyone who worked there was nice. All of their cubicles were decorated with family photos. Like, it was nothing.
She signed the paperwork, came back the next day, filmed her first scene, and a month in, they put her in a hijab, which was incredibly controversial but decisive for her career. She told the studio that the video was going to get her killed.
I verbatim told them, you guys are going to get me killed.
And they said?
They just laughed.
She did it anyway, and after it premiered, the avalanche started. Radical Islamic sympathizers hacked her Instagram and covered it in propaganda. They photoshopped a picture of her onto someone being beheaded. Her family disowned her.
They photoshopped a picture of me onto someone getting beheaded, and they said something along the lines of, "You're next."
She quit less than a month later, but none of this blew over like she hoped it would, and she couldn't get back into regular employment.
I realized that I can never work a normal job again.
Bang Bros disputed her account of her career and her argument that they ripped her off. They eventually created a website dedicated to calling her out, called factspeakfiction.co, pushing back on her claims and stating that they paid her over $178,000. They even said she filmed before with a different studio under the name Mia Khalifa before Bang Bros, and that her entire narrative was just a total lie. She claimed she walked away from adult content with her head held high, but adult content hadn't walked away from her, so naturally there was only one way to climb back up the ladder, and OnlyFans took over the entire industry at that exact moment. When Mia joined OnlyFans in 2020, she framed it as a moral response to the Beirut port explosion that killed 218 people.
Of course, capitalize on actual tragedies in order to make a future for yourself. Oh my freaking gosh.
people in her home country. She publicly pledged to donate the first $100,000 she made on the platform.
In 2020, I decided to join OnlyFans after the Beirut blast. I made the decision to join OnlyFans and donate. If I was able to make $100,000, I am donating $100,000, and that's why I'm joining this platform.
It doesn't take a very high level of skepticism to wonder whether that was true or just ethical positioning. But either way, it clearly worked out for her career. This is where Mia Khalifa became the bridge between two completely different worlds. The old world of adult content that chewed the old porn stars up and spat them out, leaving them in places like the tunnels under Las Vegas. And then there's the new world of adult content that makes celebrity entrepreneurs. Let's take Sophie Rain. In 2022, she was a 19-year-old waitress barely covering her bills. She didn't come from an adult entertainment background, but OnlyFans was still her exit.
My sister was doing OnlyFans, and I was like, maybe I'll try it so I can get out of this serving job, because I was just serving. I was working literally every day, 9 to 5.
Restaurant?
It's called Papa Joe's. It was some Italian restaurant down in Tampa. But it was fun. Like, I loved it. I loved serving, but I just wasn't making money.
It all kicked off with her infamous Spider-Man video.
Every time I was like, no, it's not me. No, it's not me. They're like, no, you're lying. It is. So I just kind of ran with it.
It wasn't even her, but she made about $95 million in 3 years from a case of mistaken identity.
So in 3 years, how much have you made?
I think last time I checked, it was at $95 million.
Holy.
Here's what really happened. In September 2023, Sophie and her sister Sierra posted a Spider-Man themed photo set on their OnlyFans. Around the same time, another creator called Naomi, who happens to look like Sophie, filmed an explicit video in a skin-tight black Spider-Man suit. The internet saw the photo set and the explicit video and conflated the two. Millions of men became convinced Sophie had secretly leaked hardcore content. She clocked that it was free traffic and started dressing up as Spider-Man on TikTok to deliberately stoke the rumor. There is no real Sophie Rain Spider-Man video. The whole thing is a fantasy that lived in the minds of her audience. She also created scarcity around her content by describing herself as a virgin, though she backtracked on that a year later. I don't think people talk enough about how much these addictions can quietly affect your life, especially when it starts early in your life. It's one of those things that seems harmless at first.
This is just insane. This is just insane. I think this is an ad. I'm just going to jump ahead. This is just crazy. Absolutely crazy. The fact that people can make a future off of this now. They can make a future off of this. And back in the day, people would get shamed for this. It's the oldest profession for a reason, because no matter what, it's always going to come back around. No matter what, it will always come back around. It's tragic. It's absolutely tragic that this is where we're at in society. This is where we're at in society, where they get to post themselves. And the problem is they're influential. They're absolutely influential. And young upcoming girls will grow up seeing this and being like, oh my gosh, they made enough money to live the rest of their lives before they were even 23. And they start in like within a year, 2 years, that I can do the same thing. And the majority of people out there are absolute failures when it comes to something like this. Look at the majority of us out there streaming to an audience of nobody. There are so many of us on TikTok, on X, on YouTube, streaming to an audience of nobody. And most of us do it just because we enjoy it. We find it fun. The problem is when it comes to something like adult content, you're ruining your future having this stuff out there. Because as soon as you do it, as soon as it's out there forever. It's out there forever. But everyone believes they're going to be that 0.01% of people who are going to make it. They'll ruin their lives to get to that point, only to realize that, I never made it there to begin with. And that's the sad part. People need to be talk about like the dark side of it, be shown the reality of it. The problem is you only ever hear the successful stories, because the successful stories, everyone likes hearing a successful story. Everyone likes hearing like the rags to riches. Everyone likes hearing that. Nobody cares about someone rich having more money. It doesn't matter to us lay folk. Us nobodies who live impoverished, came up poor, like the stories of someone who have been able to make something of themselves. Not the people who have money and have always had money and will always have money. They never have to worry a day in their lives. It's always those success stories that are like stick out. So nobody's going to push in the algorithm the failures in the story. No. They'll only push the successful ones. Why? Because those are the ones that rake in more views, because everyone likes those types of stories. Everyone enjoys those things. And that's the sad part. Is all these next generation, an entire generation of young women are going to grow up thinking this is the future. Online OF content. Online adult content is the future of women.
Code Moon to try it out. Sophie said her content involves some level of nudity, which is probably understated, but she's definitely not out there doing what Bonnie Blue is doing, which epitomizes exactly what adult content has become, selling the fantasy of personal access to an attractive woman. Sophie now has 16 million Instagram followers. When she walks through a shopping mall in Miami, paparazzi camp outside to ask her about her rumored collab with Drake. The mansion she co-founded with 7 other OnlyFans creators was described in the mainstream press as the Gen Z version of the Playboy Mansion. She's constantly associated with big celebrity events. The industry has swallowed itself and given birth to something entirely new. A monetized intimacy economy where the content can be softer, the stigma lower, and the money exponentially bigger, all while the sexual acts are actually increasingly optional.
What the f are the guys paying for at that point?
It's curiosity, and then also
With that
like
specific person?
Yeah.
I guess, right? Yeah.
yeah, because you can sit there and have a conversation with me, you know, like you don't get that just from going on Instagram.
Mia got paid $12,000 for explicit permanent graphic content. Sophie got paid $1.4 million by one man for messages. That was back in 2025. It's over $6 million now.
I want to say last time I checked, it was like 1.4.
Wow. Wow.
But that was like, that's of all
My
time.
God.
That's of all time. And I've been doing this for going on 2 years now.
Who the f is this guy? That's got to be like a fucking Middle Eastern prince.
I can't say much obviously because I'm not going to air anyone's shit out.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy.
Rightly or wrongly, it still destroyed aspects of her social life. Her parents both got fired and she became their provider.
Right now, like I'm supporting them completely. They both got fired from their jobs because of me. So I feel a little bit of guilt in that, and like I feel like I need to provide for them also because my fault, I guess.
Sophie Rain built an empire.
You have enough to pay for their lives. Give them $3 million and have them figure it out for themselves. People can live a comfortable life on $1 million. They can live a comfortable life on $1 million. You just have to balance it out. Life's expensive. Life's expensive, but you don't have to be like I guess $1 million would be considered cheap, but at the same time, I mean, you can live a life like that.
On a video that never existed, but a couple of years before that, a young actress called Chloe Cherry ran the inverse strategy for the same result. She'd moved to Miami the week she turned 18 to do adult content, and spent the next few years becoming one of the most watched performers on Pornhub. Then during lockdown, she filmed a pornographic parody of HBO's teen drama Euphoria. Not long after, the real creator of the genuine Euphoria emailed her asking her to audition for the show. She got the part, again proving how porn can scaffold women to a new path in life. Within months of her first episode airing, she'd walked New York and Milan Fashion Week, fronted a Versailles campaign, and starred in the music video for Charli XCX's 360. In just under a year, she went from being the most watched woman on a specific category to being a face the fashion industry was actively competing for. This isn't entirely new. 20 years before OnlyFans existed, a young LA socialite proved that a leaked sex tape didn't have to end a woman's career. It could actually build one. That woman was Kim Kardashian, one of the most widely known names on the planet. The promiscuity of people like herself and Paris Hilton was creating sex entrepreneurs without going through the porn industry. It was classier, more refined, and more marketable. The Kardashian tape was filmed with her then boyfriend Ray J in 2003. It went public in February 2007. At the time, an explicit video of a young woman with no particular fame or career wasn't viewed as the norm like it might be today. When these tapes leaked, they were massive news stories, and the entertainment industry was paying very close attention. Because somewhere in the media frenzy that followed, someone in a boardroom ran the calculations. And the math said that what happened to Kim Kardashian could be converted with the right packaging into one of the most lucrative television deals of the decade. Keeping Up with the Kardashians premiered 8 months later and propelled the whole family to the center of celebrity culture for nearly a decade. Today, Kim Kardashian's worth roughly $1.7 billion, and the tape that kicked it all off is a mere footnote in her CV.
Would you be where you are had there not been a sex tape?
You know, I think that's how I was definitely introduced to the world. It was a negative way, so I felt like I really had to work 10 times harder to get people to see the real me.
She's quite honest about impact, saying the worst part wasn't the humiliation itself.
The funny thing is, I think she's still seen it in a negative way. I've never seen an episode of the Kardashians. I know who they are because of, well, primarily the father and the O.J. Simpson's trial and things like that. But other than that, I mean, I have no freaking clue. I have no freaking clue. Don't care to ever learn. Don't care to ever learn.
But having to explain the tape to her grandmother. She says she was grateful her father had died 4 years earlier and didn't live to see it.
I had to explain that to my grandmother. So I think I was more...
And you're most glad you didn't have to explain it to
my father.
Which is basically a premonition of how many OnlyFans models feel today. OnlyFans relies on publicity and self-promotion. You can't easily shoot scenes under an alias and hide them as a double life. What Kim had inadvertently proved is that attention itself is the asset, and you need to market yourself as a person. Whatever generates the attention is almost secondary. The market logic of modern porn rewards whatever generates the most clicks, and everything else is downstream of that rule, which is exactly why marketing stunts are getting more controversial and extreme. The Hall of Fame today looks more like an arms race where performers compete for a share of the audience's attention. Like in 2019 when Belle Delphine sold jars of her own bath water for $35 each. She faked her own arrest with a photoshopped Metropolitan Police mugshot and briefly ran an account that turned out to be videos of 2 roosters. Her whole thing was just absurdist performance art dressed up as sex work, and it made her one of the most famous e-girls on the internet. In 2021, a 17-year-old called Bad Barbie, who had become briefly famous on Dr. Phil for telling the audience to catch her outside, teased her OnlyFans launch for weeks on Instagram.
She still exists? I completely forgot about her. I had no clue what the person's name was. I just knew she was a meme.
She then opened the account the day she turned 18 and made $1 million in 6 hours. Lil Tay would then follow in her footsteps years later. In May 2025, an Australian creator called Annie Knight hired a swingers club on the Gold Coast and had sex with 583 men in 6 hours. She was then hospitalized with vaginal bleeding and posted the hospital photo to Instagram, captioned, "I guess 583 guys in a day isn't that good for your body." In October 2024, the 23-year-old British model called Lily Phillips invited 101 men into an Airbnb and had sex with all of them in a single day. She filmed it as a documentary. A clip of her crying afterwards, her friend's arm around her, got 200 million views in one tweet. She has then since faked a pregnancy, faked an arrest, filmed a classroom roleplay with 18-year-olds, and announced she'd be beating the existing world record by sleeping with 1,000 men in a day. And then of course there's Bonnie Blue, who took the record of 1,057 men in 12 hours. She also faked a pregnancy and will risk arrest, deportation, or practically anything to stay relevant. And somehow this has gotten her on the podcast circuit like all of these girls. These stunts echo the much wider trend across social media where AI slop and brain rot content dominate for their acute ability to hijack our dopamine. Mr. Beast, Sidemen, and others mastered that formula with escalating challenges that became more and more outrageous, leaving nothing off the table in the pursuit of attention.
Again, two sides of the, I guess, the same coin that I don't partake in. Because I've still to this day, I've never seen a Mr. Beast video. No matter how many times my friend recommends one to me, I don't care. I don't care. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. It could be great or whatever, but I have no clue why. I just don't care. I don't care to see it. To me, it just seems like tabloid slop. To me, it just seems like a Kardashian nonsense. To me, it just seems like reality TV. To me, it just seems like wrestling. All fake, all staged, nothing's real, everything's predetermined. Like all I hear in like the Mr. Beast like videos where people are criticizing him is like, even though challenges are getting done, they have to change the challenges because either the women keep losing or something keeps happening that they have to change the challenges to give other people a chance. Or like, you know what, none of you can do it, let's change the rules on the spot. It's just ridiculous. I hate this nonsense. I absolutely hate this kind of crap. I hate it. I don't partake in this slop. I don't partake in this slop. Hello, welcome.
It's all pervasive, and adult entertainment naturally made a home in social media's algorithmic universe because ramping up the shock value is so easy when it's someone's body. Behind all of these stunts is usually an incredibly well-engineered business that proves how much porn has transformed. They have staff, a logistics operation, and marketing budgets rivaling tech startups. Probably the biggest weapon they have in their marketing arsenal is those who oppose them.
It's all the Karens sat at home that are going to complain about me being here that are making me rich because they make it blow up, and then when they're sat at home complaining about it to their, their husbands, they're then wanting to come and subscribe.
Putting their self-destructive elements of the lifestyle aside for a moment, they're savvy operators who understand the algorithm, the incentives, and the markets better than anyone. Sophie Rain's instinct to leverage a video that wasn't even hers is annoyingly smart. Bonnie Blue will hang around any big influencer at the time, whether it be Andrew Tate or the Nelk Boys, as she knows doing so will keep the money pumping into her operation. Mia Khalifa found a way to make herself look innocent in front of mainstream audiences, and this is why culture had to stop ignoring them. Every magazine, podcast, and TV channel is starving for attention, and these women are sitting on more of it than anyone else in the room. Ignoring them doesn't make them go away, it just hands the traffic to whoever covers them instead. So the commercial decision becomes to platform them, like when Bonnie Blue said this on UK daytime TV when anyone could have been watching.
You're like a Premiership footballer. You're bored.
I mean, I work with balls, so it's the same
there we
thing.
go.
So, barely legal, 18-year-olds. Because as I started my content, I realized it was not necessarily relatable to the average person, and I wanted to make my content relatable. I'm just a girl, I'm relatable, I'm sort of girl next door vibes.
People commented things like, interviewing a prostitute at 10:35 AM is okay for family viewing? And how can they have this conversation on morning TV as if it's normal? Imagine if you were a kid watching that asking your parents who Bonnie Blue was, and what she meant by working with balls or switching to barely 18-year-olds. But there is another side, far away from this very public layer, that we've not yet explored. Because while the conversation has spent the last decade arguing about whether those women are empowered or exploited, two-dimensional, sophisticated, victims or villains, the really smart ones are those who built the industry. You can almost certainly picture some of the girls in this video. You know what Mia looks like, you know what Kim looks like, you'd recognize Bonnie Blue in a supermarket. These are some of the most visible people alive. The men who own the platforms they work on, however, are notoriously invisible. When Mia Khalifa was filming for Bang Bros in late 2014, Bang Bros was independent, but was soon rolled up into a vast internet empire backed by institutional cash and managed by faceless executives. The parent structure behind most of her distribution was a Canadian-operated conglomerate called MindGeek, which owned Pornhub, YouTube, RedTube, Brazzers, and several hundred other sites, all controlled through a network of shell companies across the world. One of its recent owners, a guy called Bernd Bergmair, wasn't known to the media or photographed in public until recently. MindGeek wasn't just built for the love of the game, it was backed with nearly $500 million from JP Morgan Chase, among other major investors, and weirdly, even Cornell University. The same institutional capital that owns stakes in Meta, ByteDance, and Google is also indirectly exposed to the adult platforms and the companies that profit from them, which means ordinary people's retirements are, in very small and very diffuse ways, invested in the same economy that Bonnie Blue is hoping to expand. OnlyFans is the next level, springing out of the studios and making the girls do most, if not all, of the legwork. And when you look at what OnlyFans really is, it looks exactly like Amazon, Fiverr, or DoorDash. Thousands of near-identical thumbnails of near-identical women doing near-identical poses, all fighting for the same attention, all undercutting each other on price, all promising more than the last one. It personifies the direction of today's tech industry. It's the gig economy with sex as the product, using a subscription model backed by viral marketing. On the top layer, the man who owned OnlyFans until his death in March was worth $4.7 billion. On the bottom layer, for every Sophie Rain, roughly 10,000 women upload content nobody is paying for, subsidizing the traffic that makes Sophie Rain possible, while the platform takes a big cut, routed through a holding company, and into a private equity deal being negotiated in Silicon Valley, all to completely by our entire society and do untold damage to our culture.
I mean, it's a consumerist culture. It's consumer. If nobody was paying for it, there wouldn't be that industry. That's the thing. It's just like, in the end, it's this kind of thing. These platforms exist because we make them exist. We absolutely make them exist. If it wasn't for us allowing it to exist by our wallets, then it just wouldn't exist. But we give it the power to. We absolutely give it the power to. And the thing is, like, everyone thinks that they'll be the next big person. They'll be the next big shot. They'll be the next one to do all this stuff. When that's not the case. Most people are just irrelevant. Most people, and what's funny is, like, the ones who are, I guess, popular, as they were saying, don't really show much explicit content. They show a bit. It's on the verge of it, but it's like not sleeping with someone kind of content, which the ones who have like 0 views have to do in order to at least get 1 view. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's more of a mind game, or I don't know, taking advantage of a situation. I don't know. I really have no freaking clue. But at the same time, it exists because we've allowed it to exist. This is like the oldest profession in the world for a reason, and it will continue to exist forever. This is the one profession that will never disappear. That will absolutely never disappear. Even when you introduce bots, even when you introduce AI girlfriends, even when you introduce all kinds of stuff, this profession will never end. It will continue indefinitely. Absolutely indefinitely. The thing is, give it a few years, and then all those OF models will all be AI. Will all be AI. Yeah, like the Emily Hart. They'll all be AI. But that's the thing. It's just like eventually, this will be one of the only forms of income. Because machines are taking over everywhere. Either you scrub a toilet. I would say do heart surgery, but pretty soon machines will be doing that because they'll be laser accurate. Yeah, you're scrubbing toilets, because I don't think a machine will ever actually get to the point of like scrubbing a toilet. Who knows? Or you're doing adult content. Because what else is like a mandatory job that AI could possibly never take over? A machine could never completely take over. Well, and engineers. Engineers will always be there to make sure to upkeep and repair and all that stuff. That stuff will always be around. But yeah, this is just crazy. But we allow this to exist. We absolutely allow this to exist.
Of this, what has been labeled as empowerment really involves giving someone on OnlyFans the ability to negotiate the terms of her own exploitation, take home a larger cut of it, and then call the result a business, which on the individual level looks like a meaningful improvement versus Mia Khalifa's situation in 2014. On the collective level, it's built the most efficient content extraction machine in the history of the internet. Millions of women competing against each other, producing an unlimited library of material for a platform they don't own in exchange for a wage that, for most of them, works out to be less than minimum wage. The thing the industry figured out somewhere around 2016 is that you don't need to exploit anyone if you can get them to exploit themselves. You just need to build the infrastructure, take a cut of the door, and let the market do the rest. And those who become mainstream celebrities using as a gateway to something more create something to aspire to, even though most will never make it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that was a tough one. That was a tough one. It just, for that one, my brain just felt like it was rotting saying it. My brain felt like it was rotting. I don't like it when it comes to that kind of stuff. I really don't. I think society would be a much better place if we held to our morals and values. But then again, I mean, you look back in the day, we had brothels and all that kind of stuff, even when people were moralistically Christian or had more morals and values. This stuff has always existed. It will always exist. You'll never get rid of it. You had Gensha girls, you had like all kinds of stuff which sold this kind of interaction with women and talking to them, and yeah, you pay a little more and you get a little extra type of thing. It's always existed and it will always exist. But at the same time, I don't like how now the mindset of like the young and influential is to, oh, that is the future. I should do that because that is how I will make my living. It's crazy. You don't have to be on these sites to watch corn. You can see that on any other American TV show or movies. True. You don't need sites. You can watch movies. Game of Thrones has a ton of it of its own. There's so much of this everywhere. You can go to, heck, you can go to sites that you don't need to pay exclusively for people and look up leaked footage and images and things like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. I guess the more power to them, but I feel sorry for those that are promised, that believe like they're being sold a lie. How many of those people that believe they're going to be the next Bonnie Blue or whatever the other names are, like how many of them who have believed the lie that they're going to be the next one that actually become it? I think it's incredibly low. I think it's incredibly minimal who actually make it. Who actually make it.
You guys made a video?
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Wait like that.